The divorce documents landed on my kitchen table at 7:30 on a Tuesday morning, hitting like an explosion. Victoria didn't even bother giving them to me herself. Instead, she sent her attorney, some predatory type named Bradley Keir, to deliver them, while she stood in the doorway of what had once been our bedroom. Her arms were folded, her face empty, cold as drywall. "Sign them, Owen," she said, her tone flat and decisive. "Don't drag this out." I stared down at the papers. 15 years of marriage, boiled down to legal phrasing and signature lines. My name is Owen Caldwell. I'm 43 years old, and until that moment I believed my life was solid. I worked as a project manager at a construction company, earning a dependable income. Nothing flashy, but enough to keep us comfortable in our 3-bedroom home near Riverside Park. At least that's what I thought. "Victoria, can we at least talk about this?" I asked, my voice calmer than I felt. She laughed, but there was no warmth in it. "Talk? Oh, and we stopped talking months ago. You just didn't notice." Bradley Keir cleared his throat and adjusted his pricey glasses. "Mr. Caldwell, my client has been extremely fair in the settlement. You'll see she's permitting you to retain your personal items and your vehicle." "Permitting me?" As if I needed approval to keep my own truck. "And the house?" I asked, even though I already knew. "The property was primarily purchased using assets from Mrs. Caldwell's family trust," Bradley replied smoothly. "Therefore it remains hers. You have 72 hours to vacate." I looked at Victoria. 15 years. We'd met at a corporate mixer when she worked for her father's real estate development company. She was stunning, self-assured, always certain of what she wanted. I fell fast. When she accepted my proposal, I thought I'd struck gold. Her father, Richard Ashford, never hid his disdain for me. From the start, he made it clear he believed his daughter was marrying below her level. But Victoria told me she loved me. She said money didn't matter. She promised we'd build everything together. Every word turned out to be false. "There's someone else, isn't there?" I asked softly. Her expression didn't shift. "That's no longer your concern, Owen. Just sign." I picked up the pen Bradley had conveniently set beside the paperwork. My hand was steady. I didn't beg. I didn't cry. I simply signed where each yellow tab pointed, watching 15 years vanish with every stroke. "Excellent," Bradley said, collecting the pages like he'd just finalized a deal. "You have until Friday at 5 p.m. to remove your belongings." Victoria turned away and walked back into the bedroom, shutting the door with a gentle click that echoed louder than a gunshot. I stayed at the table long after they were gone, staring at my coffee mug. "World's Best Husband" was printed on the side. Victoria had given it to me as a joke on our 5th anniversary. I wondered if she'd already been planning this back then. If this story has you hooked, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss what comes next. Leave a comment about a moment when you uncovered something unexpected, and smash that like button to help this reach others who might need this story. Now let's continue. The next 3 days blurred together in a haze of cardboard boxes and buried memories. I filled my truck with clothes, a few pieces of furniture Victoria didn't want, my tools, and a box of photos I wasn't ready to throw away. My brother Tyler helped me move everything into a storage unit across town. "You can crash at my place with Jessica for a bit," Tyler said as we loaded the final box. He was 2 years younger than me, owned his own HVAC business, and had always been the practical one. "I appreciate it," I said, "but I think I need some space of my own." There was a furnished apartment building, close to the industrial zone. Month-to-month lease. Nothing special, but it would do. Tyler looked at me with worry. "Owen, are you all right? You seem way too calm about everything." I shut the door of the storage unit and turned the lock. "What's the use of breaking down, Ty?" She made her decision. Now I just have to figure out what comes next. The apartment was exactly what I'd expected. A tiny studio with a kitchenette, a bathroom so cramped you could sit on the toilet and wash your hands in the sink at the same time, and a Murphy bed that groaned whenever you moved. The last tenant had left behind a busted coffee maker and the stale scent of cigarettes. But it was mine. No one could take it from me. I spent the first week in a weird state of numbness, showing up to work on autopilot, returning to my empty studio and eating takeout from the Chinese place. Downstairs, word about the divorce had spread through the office grapevine, and my coworkers treated me with that uncomfortable pity people use when they don't know what to say. On Friday afternoon, my boss, Greg Hoffman, called me into his office. "Owen, I'm concerned about you," he said, motioning for me to sit. "Your work's as solid as ever, but you seem distant. Are you looking after yourself?" "I'm fine, Greg," I said, "just adjusting to a few changes." He nodded slowly. "Listen, I've been divorced twice. I know how this goes. If you need time off, just tell me." "I'd rather keep busy," I replied. Honestly, work helps keep my head clear. That was true. At the construction site, I could focus on timelines, supplies, crews, problems that actually had solutions. Unlike my personal life, which felt like trying to rebuild a house after a tornado had ripped it down to the foundation. 2 weeks after the divorce was finalized, Tyler called me late on a Sunday night. "Owen, you need to come to Dad's house tomorrow," he said, his voice tense. "Mom's estate lawyer finally reached out. There are some things we have to review." Our mother, Patricia Caldwell, had died 3 years earlier from cancer. Watching her decline over 6 months had been brutal, but she faced it with the same quiet strength she'd carried her whole life. Dad had passed away when Tyler and I were teenagers, and Mom raised us alone, working 2 jobs to keep food on the table and us in decent schools. "What kind of things?" I asked. He wouldn't explain over the phone, just said it was important and that we both needed to be there. The next afternoon, we met the lawyer at Mom's old house. Tyler had inherited the place, a small 2-bedroom ranch in an aging neighborhood, and he'd been slowly fixing it up, planning to sell it someday. The lawyer, Howard Preston, was in his 60s, wearing a suit past its prime and carrying a scuffed leather briefcase that looked older than I was. "Gentlemen, thank you for meeting with me," he said, shaking our hands. "I apologize for the delay. Your mother's estate was simple, but there was one item that required special instructions." He opened his briefcase and removed a thick manila envelope sealed with red wax. "Your mother specified that this envelope was not to be opened until 3 years after her passing, and only with both sons present. She was very specific." Tyler and I exchanged looks. Mom had always been precise, methodical in a way that sometimes drove us crazy. But 3 years, what could possibly need that long to wait? Howard handed the envelope to me. "The contents belong to both of you, but your mother instructed that Owen should open it." My hand shook slightly as I broke the wax seal. Inside was a handwritten letter in Mom's careful handwriting, and beneath it a black bank card with my name etched in silver letters. It wasn't a credit card. It was a debit card from First National Trust, one of those old line banks used by wealthy families. I unfolded the letter and began to read aloud. "My dearest Owen and Tyler, if you are reading this, I have been gone for 3 years. I hope you have both taken care of one another. I kept a secret from you all your lives, not out of shame, but because I wanted you to grow up normal, free from the complications that money brings. Your father was not simply a mechanic who died in an accident when you were boys. He was James Thornton Caldwell III, heir to the Caldwell manufacturing fortune. When we fell in love, he chose to walk away from his family's wealth to build a life with me on our own terms. His family never forgave him, and after his death they tried to take you boys. I fought them in court and won custody, but the cost was refusing any financial help from them. However, your father created a trust before his death, one his family could not touch. He set it up so it could not be accessed until you were both adults and established in your own lives, with a 3-year waiting period after my death to make sure you learn to stand on your own first. Owen, the enclosed bank card is linked to that trust. I've appointed you as the primary trustee since you're the eldest, though Tyler has equal access. The amount involved is significant. Use it responsibly. Create something that truly matters. And never forget that your father loved you both beyond what any sum of money could ever show. With all my love, Mom. The letter slipped from my fingers. Tyler grabbed it, reading it again for himself, while I stared at the bank card as if it might lunge at me. This is crazy, Tyler muttered. Dad was wealthy. Mom never told us. Not even once. She wanted us to find our own path, I said, my voice sounding empty. Just like Dad did. Howard Preston cleared his throat. Gentlemen, I should clarify that I don't actually know the balance of the trust. Your mother was extremely guarded about that information. She only instructed me to make sure you received the card at the appropriate time. I'd recommend visiting First National Trust downtown to learn the full details. Tyler glanced at me. You want to go right now? Yeah, I said, slipping the card into my pocket. Yeah, I do. First National Trust was housed in a refined building in the historic downtown area. The kind with marble floors and polished brass fixtures that radiated old wealth and even older customs. We stepped inside feeling completely out of place in our work clothes. Me in construction khakis, Tyler in his HVAC company polo. A receptionist greeted us with a courteous smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. How may I assist you, gentlemen? I took out the bank card. I'd like to check the balance on this account. Her expression changed the moment she saw it. Somewhere between surprise and concern. One moment, please. She picked up the phone and spoke softly, too quietly for us to hear. Within half a minute, a man in an expensive suit hurried out from the back offices. He looked about 50, with silver hair and the upright posture of someone accustomed to overseeing other people's wealth. Mr. Caldwell? He asked, locking eyes with me. That's me. I'm Charles Whitmore, Senior Account Manager. Would you and your companion please follow me to a private office? We need to verify your identity before moving forward. Tyler and I followed him through a network of hallways to a corner office overlooking the city skyline. Mr. Whitmore motioned for us to sit, then carefully shut the door. Mr. Caldwell, I'll need 2 forms of identification. I handed him my driver's license and an old employee badge from my construction job. He inspected them closely, then typed something into his computer. The color drained from his face. Sir, I need to confirm something before we proceed. You are Owen James Caldwell, son of Patricia and Caldwell, who passed away 3 years ago. Yes. Mr. Whitmore's hands trembled slightly as he turned the monitor toward me. Mr. Caldwell, please look at this very carefully. The screen displayed an account summary with my name at the top, and a balance beneath it that made my vision swim. $847 million. $847 million. Tyler leaned in, saw the number, and let out a sound like he'd been hit in the gut. That's not real. It can't be. Mr. Whitmore's voice was tight, barely containing his excitement. It is very real, sir. This trust was created 36 years ago by James Thornton Caldwell III with an initial deposit of $20 million. Following his instructions, the funds were invested conservatively but steadily in blue-chip stocks, real estate, and treasury bonds. Over the decades, the trust has grown substantially. I couldn't speak. I couldn't even begin to process what I was seeing. Additionally, Mr. Whitmore continued, his professional composure slipping just a bit, your mother made regular contributions from a small inheritance she received from her family, approximately $10,000 per year. She wanted to ensure the trust continued to grow for her sons. Mom had money? Tyler whispered. She worked 2 jobs her entire life. Your mother, Mr. Whitmore said kindly, chose to live simply so you would understand the value of hard work. But she never neglected this trust. She came to this bank once every year without fail, to review its progress and ensure everything was properly managed for your future. I finally found my voice. So this money is really mine, ours? Primarily yours as the appointed trustee, he replied. Your brother Tyler also has access, as outlined in your mother's letter. The funds are available immediately, though I strongly advise meeting with our wealth management team before making any large withdrawals. Tyler let out a shaky laugh. Owen, do you realize what this means? You just signed divorce papers giving Victoria everything. And now it turns out you're sitting on nearly $1 billion. The irony slammed into me like a freight train. Victoria had thrown me out with nothing but my truck and the clothes on my back, convinced she'd taken everything I owned. Her father had probably celebrated finally shedding the useless son-in-law, who'd never become anything. If only they knew. Mr. Whitmore watched me closely. Mr. Caldwell, I understand this is a lot to take in. Take the time you need to process it. However, I should mention that once you start using this card, certain automated notifications will be triggered. Your account activity will be monitored for security, and large transactions will require additional verification. What qualifies as large? I asked. Anything over $100,000 in a single transaction. I stood up slowly, my legs feeling unsteady. Mr. Whitmore, I need time to think. Is there a way to confirm this account is real without alerting anyone else? He nodded. Of course. The card you have is fully active. You can use it immediately for normal transactions. I made a few small purchases just to be sure everything was real and working. Tyler and I walked out of the bank without saying a word, both of us still in shock. We wandered into a coffee shop a couple of blocks away, slid into a corner booth, and sat there, staring blankly ahead. So what are you going to do? Tyler finally broke the silence. I honestly don't know, I confessed. Part of me wants to march right back into Victoria's life and shove this in her face. Show her exactly what she walked away from. That's your anger talking, Tyler said, though he was smiling. Still, I'd pay good money to see the look on her face. The other part of me wants to act like I never learned any of this, I continued. Just keep living like nothing ever changed. Tyler shook his head. Owen, Mom didn't safeguard that money for 36 years just so you could ignore it. She wanted you to use it. She wanted you to build something that mattered. That's what she said. He was right. But what do you even build when you suddenly have more money than you could spend in 10 lifetimes? The answer hit me 3 days later while I was driving past one of my construction sites. We were converting an old warehouse into a mixed-use residential and commercial space. A project that could breathe life back into a struggling neighborhood. But funding problems had slowed everything down, and the developer was considering cutting back on the affordable housing units to save money. I pulled over and made a call to Mr. Whitmore. I want to buy the project, I told him. All of it. What do I need to do? 2 weeks later, I was the sole owner of a $20 million development. I kept my role as the investor hidden behind a shell corporation, and continued working my regular job as the project manager. No one had any idea that the guy in the hard hat and dusty boots was actually the owner of the entire operation. I reworked the plans to include more affordable housing, improved green spaces, and a community center. Features that would genuinely benefit the neighborhood instead of just boosting profits. My construction crew thought the new investor was insane for spending money on additions that didn't deliver immediate returns. But it felt right. It felt like I was finally building something meaningful. Tyler used his share of the trust to grow his HVAC business, purchasing new equipment and hiring additional technicians. We agreed to keep the money a secret from everyone except our wives. Well, Tyler's wife, Jessica. I didn't have one anymore. I thought I was managing everything just fine until I ran into Victoria at a charity gala 3 months after our divorce. I'd been invited because my shell corporation had made a large donation to the Children's Hospital, which apparently included tickets to their annual fundraiser. She was wearing a dress that probably cost more than my old monthly paycheck, clinging to the arm of a man I didn't recognize. He was tall, fit, and sporting the kind of artificial tan that came from spending too much time at luxury resorts. When Victoria saw me, her eyes went wide with surprise. I was in a tuxedo I'd bought for the occasion, and I probably looked nothing like the broke ex-husband she remembered. Owen, she said cautiously, what are you doing here? The same thing as everyone else, I replied evenly. Supporting a good cause. Her date stepped forward and held out his hand. Preston Hargrove. And you are? Owen Caldwell, I said. Victoria's ex-husband. His handshake was painfully tight, clearly an attempt to assert dominance. I didn't flinch. Owen works in construction, Victoria added quickly, as if she needed to justify my presence. I'm surprised you could afford tickets to something like this. I get by, I said simply. The truth was that my single ticket had cost $50,000. I'd barely even noticed the charge on my account. Well, it was nice seeing you, Victoria said, already turning away. Preston and I should go mingle. I watched them walk off, her hand gripping Preston's arm possessively. She thought she'd upgraded. Left a struggling construction worker for someone from her own social circle. Let her believe that. Let her father believe he'd successfully erased the embarrassment from his daughter's life. 6 months after the divorce, my development project was featured in the local business journal as a model of responsible urban renewal. The article praised the anonymous investor, who had chosen community impact over maximum profit. My team took real pride in what we did, and I'd managed to secure bonuses for everyone after we finished under budget and ahead of schedule. One Saturday morning while I was having coffee with Tyler, my phone rang. Unknown caller. Mr. Caldwell, a woman said. This is Jennifer Ashford, personal assistant to Richard Ashford. Mr. Ashford would like to meet with you at your earliest convenience. Richard Ashford, Victoria's father. The man who had made it clear from the moment we met that I wasn't good enough for his daughter. What is this about? I asked. He didn't give details, only said it was urgent. Would tomorrow at 2 p.m. work? At his downtown office. Curiosity got the better of me. I'll be there. Tyler lifted an eyebrow when I ended the call. So Victoria's dad wants to see you. You think he knows about the money? No chance. We've been careful. Still doubt crept in. Had I made a mistake somewhere? Used the card in a way that could be traced back to me? Richard Ashford's office was exactly as I imagined. The top floor of the newest high-rise. Floor-to-ceiling views of the city. Furniture that cost more than most people's cars. His assistant showed me into a private office, where Richard sat behind a desk as big as my Murphy bed. Owen, he said, staying seated and not offering his hand. Thank you for coming. Mr. Ashford. I took the chair across from him without waiting to be asked. He studied me silently for a moment. I'll be direct. Victoria wants to reconcile. Of everything I expected him to say, that wasn't it. Excuse me. My daughter has realized she made a mistake divorcing you. She's ended things with Preston Hargrove, and would like to see if getting back together is possible. I almost laughed. And you're here to make that happen? I'm here because Victoria asked me to contact you. She was worried you wouldn't answer her call. She was right. Richard leaned back. Owen, I'll be frank. When Victoria first introduced you, I didn't think you were suitable for her. You didn't come from wealth, had no real connections, and seemed satisfied with mediocrity. Appreciate the honesty, I said flatly. But, he went on, I've asked around about you recently. You've built quite a reputation in construction. That development project everyone's talking about. The word is you're the anonymous investor behind it. So he had figured it out, at least partly. That's an interesting rumor, I said evenly. It's more than that. I have friends in banking, Owen. People who notice when large sums start moving through unusual channels. They mentioned an account at First National Trust. Old family money. That was recently activated. My pulse quickened, but I kept my face neutral. Richard smiled, though there was no warmth in it. Your mother did a remarkable job concealing your father's identity. I had to dig to learn that James Thornton Caldwell III was married to Patricia Ann Caldwell before he died. And dig even deeper to discover he walked away from his family's fortune to marry someone they disapproved of. Is there a point to all this? I asked. The point is, Victoria divorced you believing you were a nobody. Now I'm informing her that she divorced a man sitting on the Caldwell manufacturing fortune. He leaned forward. That trust has to be worth what? $400 million by now. I didn't correct him. Let him lowball it by half. Victoria made her decision, I said. She left because I wasn't wealthy enough for her. Now she wants back because she's learned I am. That isn't love, Mr. Ashford. That's a business deal. Everything is a business deal, Owen. You should know that. Maybe that's the problem, I replied, standing. Not everything should be. Think about it, Richard called after me. Victoria could be an asset. Her connections, her social status. They could help you build something bigger than a single development project. I stopped at the door. I don't need her connections, and I definitely don't need her back in my life. Walking out of Richard Ashford's office felt like closing a chapter. Victoria had judged me based on what she thought I was worth financially. She looked at me and saw only limits, a ceiling on what her life could become. She never saw who I truly was. The man who worked hard, kept his word, and would have built a life with her no matter how much money was involved. Once she found out I had money, she suddenly wanted a second chance. No. That afternoon, I drove to my mother's grave. The headstone was modest, just her name and the dates, exactly how she'd asked for it. I sat down in the grass beside it and told her everything. The divorce, the trust, Victoria wanting to come back. You knew exactly what you were doing, didn't you, Mom? I said into the stillness, making us wait 3 years, making sure we learned how to stand on our own first. If she had handed us the money immediately, I would have wasted it trying to impress Victoria, trying to prove I deserved her family's approval. I would have turned into precisely what Richard Ashford expected. Just another wealthy man who believed money fixed everything. Instead, I discovered who I was without it, and I realized I actually liked that person. My phone vibrated. A message from Victoria. Dad said he spoke to you. Can we please meet? I replied, no. Move on. I have. She called 3 times. I ignored everyone. A week later, Tyler and I were sitting in Mr. Whitmore's office at First National Trust, going over investment plans and talking about charitable foundations. We decided to create the Patricia Caldwell Foundation, dedicated to helping single mothers gain job skills and education. Felt right. Honoring the woman who raised us while safeguarding a secret that could have altered everything. Your mother would be proud, Mr. Whitmore said as he reviewed the paperwork. This is exactly the kind of meaningful work she hoped you'd pursue. As we left the bank, Tyler glanced at me. You okay with everything? Victoria, the money, all of it. Yeah, I said. And realized it was true. I really was. For the first time in years, I felt like I was exactly where I belonged. I didn't miss the big house or the life I'd shared with Victoria. I thought about my tiny studio apartment, the squeaky Murphy bed, the coffee maker that barely worked. I thought about my construction crew and the pride we felt building things that helped people instead of just chasing profit. That life was never truly mine, I said. It was always hers. I was just living inside it. And now I was building my own life on my own terms. 6 months later, the development project was finished. We held a community celebration, and I watched families move into their new affordable homes. I watched kids race through the green spaces we'd built, and saw the community center fill with people. During the celebration, Victoria drove by. I noticed her slow down, watching from her car. Our eyes met briefly, and I saw recognition on her face. Not of me, but of what the project stood for. The kind of life I was creating without her. She drove on without stopping. The bank card my mother left me didn't just give me money. It gave me freedom. Freedom to build something that mattered. Freedom to decide what was important. Freedom to become the man my father was when he walked away from his family's wealth to create a life on his own terms. Mom knew exactly what she was doing. She always had. If this story connected with you, please like the video and share it with someone who needs to hear about standing on their own and discovering what truly matters. Leave a comment below about a moment when you learned something unexpected about yourself or your family. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories about ordinary people, uncovering extraordinary truths in the most unlikely places. Because sometimes, losing everything is the only way to learn what you're really worth.